Dr. Jacey, what's going on?
What's up, guys?
We got you fresh off the plane.
Fresh off the
4
plane.
or 5 hour delays.
Nice.
We're not going to let that
Nice
get
and
to us,
hot.
though. Yeah.
What is the temperature today? Like 100 and...
It's like 100 every day.
Okay.
It cooled off a little bit today. Yes, like 2 days ago, it was like 107. It felt like 119.
I just feel really oily right now, but
know.
just in case I'm shiny. But that's why I'm not used to the
Yeah.
humidity quite yet.
A lot of tea in this room. We were saying
Yeah,
we've got
a lot
6
of tea.
dudes in here, but
Yeah.
we love it. And so, we were saying this off camera. So you are now officially the guest with the most appearances on our show. We had you and Josh, co-founder of Blokes, on episode 158. We talked all things hormone, testosterone, et cetera. And then we recorded your panel with Dr. Brittany talking about male and female hormone health. And now we've got you back on solo. So,
Well, it's a pleasure, man. Hopefully we keep this going.
How was the panel?
It was awesome.
Yeah.
It was great.
That clip from the conference was hysterical.
Which one?
When she asked
about Brittany,
balls.
about sunning your balls.
Oh, was that right?
Yeah. Yeah.
That was crazy, man.
That was good.
Yeah.
You guys played off of each other super well, though.
Yeah, and never met her before, first time ever. But yeah, it was kind of like there's a lot of synergy there. I think the fact that she seemed very educated in female hormones, which not a lot of people are. There's just not, especially with women and testosterone. There's like not much research in that, unfortunately.
Yeah, and you're also super well versed in female hormone health, and you have 6 daughters too.
Right.
So it was like the perfect 1-2 combo. And we were like, so Harry paced everything out, and I thought he did a perfect job. We were just like, we know there's a lot of speakers. We're curious how the energy is going to be towards the end of the day. But you guys were like the perfect bookend to the conversation.
Cool.
There were like 10 questions at the end. Like people wanted to just keep asking questions. We had to cut it short.
Yeah, I felt like it could have kept going, like you said, but obviously, you have to end it at some point. But yeah, it went by pretty fast.
Yeah,
it was fun.
What question do you get the most with hormone health? I feel like you guys probably just hear so much stuff because it's such a popular topic of conversation these days.
Yeah, I mean, when it comes to hormone replacement therapy, there's a lot of questions, but the one that I think most guys ask is, if I start treatment of some sort to optimize testosterone, do I have to do it forever?
Yeah.
And what's that look like? What is, can I take it for a year? Can I, and then if I stop, what happens? And that seems to be the most common question. And first thing I answer with is, I don't know, first of all, before we start treatment, I don't know which method of treatment is best for you, because there's a lot of options. We could take a conservative route, because really when it comes down to testosterone, it's if a man or woman has low testosterone, it's why. Why is it low? It's not just, here's replacement, have a nice day. That's going to move the needle quickly, but learning and understanding why their testosterone is low is the first thing. So then you look at things like sleep. What's their sleep like? What's their stress level like? What's their diet like? Just things like that. Just kind of get some information about their history and things like that. And you can address those things, and you can see improvements in testosterone when you start to address these deficiencies and these toxicities and these blind spots. But when we do start individuals on testosterone replacement, it is doing that. It is replacing your body's production of testosterone. That's what replacement is. When you're injecting an exogenous, which is external source of testosterone, you're basically stopping your own production, but you're getting the benefits of having that hormone in your body, which can do a lot of amazing things. And if you stop that exogenous, injection, then your body kind of goes through this little bit of a period of like, we're not making anymore. And so a lot of guys feel a little bit of a crash, but ultimately, oftentimes they will revert back to where they were before they started the replacement. And so that's kind of what happens. So they're like, well, do I got to stay in this forever? And well, if you want to continue feeling awesome, as long as you want to keep feeling great, keep doing it. But that's not the only, way to optimize testosterone. Like, what I actually do personally is I take something called enclomiphene, which
you recommended,
which I talked about. Yeah. And so enclomiphene, it's pretty awesome. So it basically is an isomer of clomiphene, which is the name brand version of clomiphene is Clomid. So it's FDA approved for fertility in women, and it's heavily used in men to help stimulate your own production of testosterone. So Clomid or clomiphene is 2 isomers, zuclomiphene and N-clomiphene, and they've isolated that one isomer, N-clomiphene. That's what I take. And so what it's doing is it's stimulating my brain, my hypothalamus is pituitary in gonadal production of testosterone. So I'm telling my body to make more testosterone, on its own. Therefore, if I'm not putting external testosterone in my body. I'm making my body make more of what it used to know how to make, and so that is great. And you don't have to worry about dips. You don't have to worry about peaks and valleys so much. I just feel taking this pill every day keeps you more consistent. So those guys, what I have seen is they stop testosterone. I've seen this many times, which really turned me on to this. Is I've seen stories and case studies where a guy has been on this clomiphene for a while and they stopped taking and their levels remained elevated.
Wow.
It's like it turned on that mechanism of production. So they're still making testosterone. The body's like, oh yeah, this is what we used to know how to do. So that's super cool and exciting. So that's really ultimately what, kind of triggered me to shift from the replacement, because I was doing TRT for a while. And full disclosure, I wasn't the best patient. I travel a lot and I'm busy. And so I'd miss a shot someday, or if, let's say I'm doing my injections on Tuesday, Friday comes and goes and it's next Tuesday already. And I kind of feel like this dip, and it's like, gosh, just like, I got to do another shot and I feel great. But, you just got to keep up with those injections. And now I just take a pill every day and I just feel even killed.
That's incredible. If you guys don't mind me just taking a quick step back, we've never asked you this question before in all of our conversations. So you're a chiropractor by trade, right? So you came up through Western medicine. I'm just curious, in your background, when did you start to realize that traditional medicine maybe isn't the best path forward, and there's levers that you can pull from a diet and lifestyle perspective that really make a lot of the difference?
Yeah, and honestly, if I can just take a step back even further, it was when I was a kid, literally. I'll never forget when I was growing up. I suffered from migraine headaches often, and I just remember like being in bed. It's on a Saturday afternoon like today, and hearing my brother and the other neighborhood kids playing outside, and I could just look out the window and see him having. I just remember just feeling like, gosh, the most important thing is just feeling good, just being healthy. But I'd have these migraines when my parents couldn't figure out. We'd go to doctors and I just kept having suffering from these migraines. And I realized it was foods that I would eat and certain things I would do. And, when I wouldn't eat those things, I would feel better. So I started to realize like, wow, what I decide to put in my mouth and eat and, makes a huge difference in how I feel and how I function and how I can enjoy life. And so moving forward, that's what made I had the decision to, I wanted to pursue health. I felt health is the most important thing for people, for all of us. And I wanted to educate myself as much as possible to learn how to provide that gift for everyone. And I've also seen individuals in my family that have been completely, married to the Western medicine model of medications. Even my own grandmother was one of those. So I remember she would come over and visit, and she would have one of those pill like containers, cases, and there would literally be like 14 different pills. And I'm just like, Grandma, how do you even remember which ones to take and what time? And she's, oh, it's this one, and it's just like I still did to this day. I'm like, I can guarantee she was taking the wrong one, two of this one, 3 that one, the wrong time, and it's just like, this is crazy. So going to chiropractic school, like we talked about at the panel, we learn truly, we don't focus on medications. We learn what medications do, but our focus was on what provides health, true health to the body. And that's removing interferences. That's, addressing nutritional deficiencies, removing toxicities from the body, allowing the body to heal itself, because really what it boils down to is like God gave us everything we need from the sun, from the food, from our bodies can heal. And we also have to move. We just have to, we just have to continue to do what our bodies are meant to do, which is heal on its own, but not just treat symptoms. So I know I went like a long ways, but it really started when I was a kid. And then going through school and understanding like, wow, I'm gonna go into space with chiropractic. That's great, but chiropractic, people think just back care or back pain, neck pain. we learned a ton about nutrition. Like that was like most of the curriculum, nutrition, lifestyle. And that's what I really kind of have passion for.
Why is that? It seems like chiropractors, like when I hear about chiropractors, it's like, I immediately think spinal health. But a lot of times when I meet them, they have a background in a number of different disciplines. They're like really good ones, can speak to a number of different things. So I'm curious, like from your perspective, having actually had that education, like why are chiropractors generally a little bit more like dual skilled?
Yeah, well, first, at the end of the day, we have to make money. We have to earn a living, and the chiropractors are kind of in this. To get compensated by insurance companies, you have to treat pain. So you have to kind of dance that dance. You have to kind of you're in this kind of like pain model where if you're going to get compensated by your patient's insurance company, you have to treat the back pain to diagnose it. So that's why number one, chiropractors are so focused on back pain, neck pain. But our education truly is, learning what health is from the ground up. Nutrition, optimal sleep. We spend a ton of hours and hours and hours, years learning this stuff. So that's why when you go to chiropractor, they're going to have supplements and tests and ways to, really help, address, like, once again, deficiencies, toxicities, and interferences in the body, because it's also, the brain, the nervous system that is providing energy to all the organ systems as well.
I have kind of a two-part question. One is, do you think that everyone would benefit from going to a chiropractor? And number two, do you have any advice for someone at home that wants to find a good chiropractor, but they're worried about, I know that you have to be careful because there's some that are kind of like quacks, and then there's some that people say like they're worth their weight in gold. They're so good.
Definitely feel like everyone can benefit from a chiropractic adjustment. I just adjusted my daughter, my wife, few of my daughters the other day. So my
all six?
Yeah, not all six.
It's a full day's work.
Yeah, my one daughter went to kind of like there was an amusement park, and she was like on like a roller coaster ride, and her neck was like kind of tweaked, and she's adjusted. She's like, oh my gosh, I can't believe it already feels better. My wife has been dealing with some sort of ear issue and kind of like sinus drainage, and I adjusted her, and it helps. I mean, so every chiropractor, I think, is worth the weight in gold to me. I mean, it's just, everybody has a different discipline, different emphasis, different focus, and what they're passionate about. But we learn the importance of the brain, the nervous system, the adjustment, what that does, and that helps everyone from little babies to 100-year-olds.
Can you talk about the options that are out there outside of primary care? Because I think like the standard person immediately goes to their primary care, and then maybe they prescribe them something. But if they're looking for alternative solutions to different health problems, maybe more specific health problems, like where should people start to like explore, like what would be a good starting point for them?
Yeah, I mean, it's not easy because once you're in that primary care system, like you said, that they're kind of like steering you, like we talked about during the podcast. Everything's compartmentalized. So you go to your primary doc and you're complaining about something and it ends up being somewhat gastrointestinal, then they're going to send you to who? A GI guy, right? Or if you start talking about like, well, I'm having, some headaches, and they might send you to a neurologist. Or you're talking about, I'm having like this tightness in my chest, and I feel like my heart's racing. They're going to probably send you to a cardiologist. So everything's compartmentalized, and there's like a lot of disconnect there. So finding someone that maybe has some more of like a holistic training, and there are medical doctors that go this route. They kudos to them. They've gotten tired of the system, and so it's just about sometimes going online and finding individuals that have been certified through some of the. I know there's functional medicine university is one you can go to, a source where you can find someone that's trained more functional medicine, more holistic, and there's a lot of good books out there, a lot of good podcasts, and that's where I find guys like on YouTube and on podcasts. But but I've been in this space for a while, so I kind of know some of the big names. But it is not easy. I mean, there's there are people out there that are great, but they may focus just on one niche. So it also depends on like what is you're looking to address. But I try to stay away from the compartmentalization, like the gut, the brain, everything's connected.
Right.
So that's why if you want to go somewhere, find someone that really believes in testing, and doing full tests.
Yeah.
Like that's why when we do the blood test, we're not looking at we're not like, oh, you're a thyroid guy. We're just going to look at your thyroid, your thyroid patient. We're going to look at thyroid markers. We want to look at the whole body. Everything, everything it has this ripple effect with everything else. We want to test everything. So someone that really believes in full, ground up testing. There's so many tests we could talk about, but that looks at food sensitivity testing, adrenal testing, blood testing, top to bottom, not just looking at nutritional deficiencies. So I wish I knew like a way to find the one for you, but it's just kind of, it takes some work. I would encourage people to just not delegate their health to any one doctor that is just going to, give you a script for whatever symptom you have.
Yeah.
It's for me, it seems like such a frustrating system to be in if you are struggling with one of these chronic issues, because I just hear time and time again, people having something that they just like are basically forced to just live with. And from a functional perspective, I just hear a lot of people talking about how they've healed themselves and then regained their health. And it's like, there's basically these two worlds in the medical system that people are living in.
Yeah. Oh man. There's no, I have a lot of passion for people that have autoimmune conditions. My wife has an autoimmune disease. Two of my daughters have autoimmune diseases, and so does my sister. And it's kind of just different. These are things that like I've poured a lot of energy and passion into to learn, because there's no such thing as an autoimmune specialist. And it's just some patients that I've talked to, they just are taking steroids for an autoimmune disease. Did they ever?
I was on a lot of prednisone.
Yeah.
A lot. Yeah. But it's scary though to break away from the Western medicine system, to Harry's point, because you're just like, if you've only been indoctrinated in the Western medical system, like that's all you know. You're like, well, I'm told that I should go to this GI. I'm told that I should take this medication. What's going to happen if I stop? But to your point, there's so much amazing research out there. There's podcasts, et cetera, that actually give you the spark of, okay, there's all these other people that have healed themselves. So why can't I try that for myself too and see what happens? Then you do it. You have this amazing response. You prove that the body is actually self-healing. And then you have all the confidence in the world. But if you've never done that before, I could totally see how it would be scary to make that jump, because it was for me too.
Yeah. I feel like we're kind of like, the system's broken. We know that. But the thing is if it's all you know, it's all you know. People just they've known their dad never went to the doctor unless something was broken, right? Or their mom would give them a spoonful of penicillin. There's a medicine. There's only go to the doctor when you're sick. So it kind of, a story that started for me was my daughter when she was 5 years old. This is actually when I was in chiropractic school. And we were at the beach, and she was kind of playing in the sand, and I noticed there was a little like white spot on her back. Like it was just she was getting tan, but there was this little white spot, and I looked at it, I'm like, So then when we were out of the sun, it was just really pale, and I didn't know. I was like, I wonder if like a piece of like, or a drop of like sunscreen just landed there, and she didn't get tan there. But long story short, she ended up being diagnosed with vitiligo, and she started getting white patches on her face, on her feet, and in her legs. It was getting very like obvious. She was getting like just areas of her skin was getting attacked. So I started digging into this. It's an autoimmune condition that attacks the skin pigmentation. And everywhere I looked, it said there's no cure. There's no cure. You can give them cortisone cream. And I just at that, she was 5 years old. I started like, I just want to flood her body with nutrients and I just like, I gotta do whatever I can to help her body heal itself and just not treat symptoms. And over time, the vitiligo started to dissipate, started to heal. And now, she's in her 20s. You can't even tell she ever had it.
Wow.
So there's definite, in fact, Joe Rogan, if you may have heard, like he has vitiligo, and he was able to, it significantly improved when he went on a carnivore diet.
For 30 days, his vitiligo completely went away.
Yeah.
What do you attribute the staggering increases in autoimmune disease over the last 50 or so years? Do you think it's just a diet and lifestyle thing?
Man, there's so many factors, I think, Definitely. Definitely diet and lifestyle thing. We could go down a whole rabbit hole with that because it's like there's a rampant increase in so many things. You know, we hear how many people are dying of heart disease. We hear how many people are having low hormones, testosterone being one of them. You know, there's just an there's toxins in our environment more than ever. You know, there's heavy use of glyphosates, atrazines, things like that that are known to significantly lower testosterone and potentially like impact gut health and impact immune health. So I think it's a combination of toxic overload. Just I mean, like I think technology might be part of it as well. Just all of the electric magnetic radiation that we're exposed to. There's so many things. There's stressful lifestyle, but there's also like new viruses that are popping up here and there, you know, and I feel like there's going to be even more of an increase in autoimmune conditions in the future. One of the things I think contribute to it also is the hybridization of foods. And not a lot of people realize this too, like especially gluten. So gluten in America has been so hybridized, and it's the body is responding to it, causing things like intestinal permeability, affecting the immune system, causing activation of certain immune markers that will start to cause an autoimmune response. And the most common is Hashimoto's, where it affects the thyroid. And most people that have one autoimmune condition oftentimes will have another and another and another after their immune system continues to just go rampant. It's just the thing is most autoimmune conditions can take years until they're actually diagnosed. I mean, you can be in like a dormant stage where you have these antibodies with the tissues not being damaged yet. It can take on average like 7 years or so to diagnose MS. So MS is like you can't diagnose it until there's like 60 to 70% damage of the tissue.
Wow.
So I don't know, but I just feel like there's, like to your point, more and more people getting diagnosed with autoimmune conditions. And there's no such thing as an autoimmune specialist. So there's just, I feel like we just have to kind of do more work to optimize our health, address these deficiencies, heal the gut, balance hormones. I mean, the hormone piece is huge. If you look back to like 1980, the average man has like his testosterone was like 200 points than it is today. And we could talk about testosterone itself because it's, we know what it does, but what it really is doing is so much more than we even realize. I mean, testosterone actually significantly influences not only our immune health, but also our genetic expression. So when your testosterone is optimal, for men, we want to be protectors. We want to protect. We want to lead. We want to be men. We want to produce, reproduce. We want to band together. But it seems like certain powers that be maybe don't want that. Yeah. You think, right? Yeah. If you want to control a society, imagine taking that desire to be a leader, to fight, to protect. You know what I mean?
100%.
It seems like that's kind of happening in our society a little bit.
Well, I would anecdotally say we wouldn't have started the show without having gotten our health in really, really like sharp order. And a lot of it was nutrition based, but it was also getting more sunlight, working out.
Yeah.
And I don't have the blood work to prove whether our T was going up or not, but I can certainly say like we were more focused than ever, working harder than ever, like doing more than we possibly could. Basically everything you were talking about. And a lot of it was just a product of getting our diet and lifestyle in check. So I can see why people wouldn't want that to be a thing if they were in power.
I mean, something I see every day in men, especially, and women, is when we get their testosterone optimized. And like I said before, there's a lot of things that contribute to that. So, and it's not just about testosterone. Very rarely do I see optimal testosterone with low vitamin D. And so it's like some of these guys, hey, your vitamin D is like in the tank, let's get it up. And all of a sudden, testosterone goes up. But these guys, on follow-up calls, they're like, it's like a different person. It's like
amazing.
It's like, and their wife's like, I got my husband back. Like, he was just kind of like, for like last few years, he's just been kind of like no motivation, no drive. He's not chasing me anymore. He's not like, he doesn't feel like the guy that's at all interested in me. You know what I mean? and that's not cool. And so, I've been there, but it's just like when you see these guys like come back and no longer being shells of themselves, being real men, and that's what it's about, man. It's not just about the hormone. It's about what it does for the body, and what it does for the brain, and what it testosterone makes effort feel good. We're meant to move. We're meant to do shit, and we're meant to challenge ourselves. I try to get my every day, force myself to not. Well, it's easy, but I don't pursue pleasure. I like to pursue challenges every day, and that way I feel like at the end of the day, like, wow, I've accomplished something. And so I'm, I feel like that itself is a problem in society. People kind of don't want to be uncomfortable. They don't want to do things that might be difficult. So it seems like a lot of people now just try to go the easy route, pursue pleasure, right?
Yeah.
And I think by not making yourself uncomfortable, by continuously going the easy route and thinking like, I deserve my life to be easy, and I want to be comfortable, and I want to pursue pleasure. It's just not. That's not what we're designed to do. Human beings are so resilient, but it's because we've endured a lot of hardships, and it's not like you have to suffer, but that's where we learn, who we are. So I like to try to really every day just kind of challenge myself, whether it's like going to the gym and just beat the crap out of myself, or in some way or shape or form, or just take on as much as I can and feel like, wow, I helped some people today. And so I feel that makes me feel accomplished and feels like I'm fulfilling my role, or my purpose.
Dude, there's so many good things to unpack in what you just said. Number one, I would imagine to what you just said, you probably get just as much positive feedback from wives of your male clients than the clients themselves,
100%.
because they're firsthand seeing the positive ramifications of them getting their testosterone and their hormones and their health optimized. And number two, you said testosterone is so much more than just the hormone itself. It's kind of like who you become as a person. And I think in today's day and age, we think of hormones in this very biohackery type of way. Where
I hate that word.
It sucks.
It's so bad.
We talk about it all the time.
I don't like that word.
But it's not just optimizing your T. It's who you become in that process. Having more energy, having more vitality, being more desirable to your wife, having more energy to play with your kids, do better at your job, launch the side hustle. It's like these could be putting millions of dollars in your pocket, giving you priceless relationships with your kids, which is the ultimate asset. But we don't think about health from that perspective. We don't think about the things that come from you getting your life under control. It's so powerful.
So powerful. I mean, it's like, you just, I just feel like I look back, I'm like, years ago when my testosterone level, and there's a lot of things I wasn't getting the sleep. I was working like crazy, I would think during the day, oh, I can't wait to go home and play with my daughter, play some soccer, do something like that. And I didn't have anything in the tank, like nothing. So I would like literally catch myself making excuses to not interact with my kids. And I'm like, and it breaks my heart that I did that, but I was just like literally depleted, And so then I just like took responsibility, and that I have to do something about this. Now, whether, I have a hard day, which I try to make myself, push myself, I actually feel more like rejuvenated and invigorated to like go out, and I grab the soccer ball and they're like, they get all excited, and go outside or anything. We have a swimming pool in the back, go in the back and like swim a little bit and play with the kids. And that's, makes me feel good because I'm there for them.
It's crazy to think that a molecule can have an effect on your thought patterns,
100%.
And your ability to lead your family, your ability to lead in business. Like something that simple and that small can actually shift the entire course of your life.
It makes you who you are. And it's cool because these hormones, they travel from one part of the body all the way everywhere to a cell in your big toe, and literally turn on and activate gene expression. Will go to your muscle to activate gene expression to make the muscle stronger. It does so many things, and it has a cascade of other factors that it causes. So it's only going to be make you more of wanting to continue to pursue, wisdom and knowledge and be the leader. But I definitely felt both sides of it. Like when my testosterone was low, I just like, man, I just wanted to kind of just, not engage.
Dude,
and it sucked.
It sucks.
Yeah.
And that's the beauty of what you guys are doing at Blokes is like, you're literally giving men and women quantitative data that they can interpret and then actually make the right changes. Like, just to give you a personal anecdote for the audience, it's like you've worked personally with both Harry and I. We got our blood work with Blokes. You interpreted the results with us. And when I got my blood work done, just with some of the UC and the autoimmune stuff that I deal with, I was going through like a bit of a flare up. Even in Nashville, I was, I had some blood in my stool. Like I just didn't feel like myself. And I remember like with our business, because Harry and I were business partners, we're best friends, we're roommates. It's like we joke that we're like step brothers up in the bunk beds together. But like he sees it because I'm like, I just don't have I don't really want to go to the gym. I'm not really working hard at my business, but I'm like, my stomach is literally so inflamed. It's trying to repair itself. I don't really have the energy to do anything else. And you got me on that Thorne vitamin D and K supplement. So I've been taking like 10,000 IUs a day since you told me. Bleeding stopped. Energy's way better. Back at the gym early in the morning, crushing it at work. But it's like just those little changes. I'm like, this isn't just a change itself. It's changing who you are as a person and your output and the way you're approaching your life.
100%. And that's the thing too, back to about the labs. I mean, so many patients, so many people come to us and they're taking a long list of supplements or things. And I'm like, oh, cool. Why are you taking that? And she's like, well, I don't know. I saw a guy online that said it was good. And why are you taking this and this? Somebody recommended it. And there's nothing wrong with that. I mean, if you feel like it's helping you, but the reality is it's like, we test labs because we want to specifically know like, what do you need? And then I can kind of like know how much of a certain thing you need. And, are you low in iron? Are you low in vitamin D? And are you, does your body need more glutathione? And do you have, what's your testosterone level like? What's your estrogen like? Surprisingly, I see a lot of guys recently with low estrogen. And estrogen, is kind of whatever reason demonized for men. It's like, oh, that's not a man hormone, but it actually is a metabolite of testosterone, and it's very important for male health, very important for cardiovascular protection, very important for brain health, even libido. And these guys that I see that have low estradiol, I'm like, tell me, what's your libido like? What's it? Like, yeah, it's really low, and sure enough, it's low estradiol, and so, but oftentimes if you have low testosterone, you're going to have low estradiol because that's how our body makes it. Is it converts testosterone to estradiol, which is a very important metabolite for our health. And unfortunately, a lot of these TRT clinics that will put a guy on testosterone replacement will dose their patient a little bit on the high side. And so what they do is we're going to dose this guy. We're going to have him feeling awesome. His testosterone is going to go through the roof. And what they will do is they put you on what's called a aromatase inhibitor or an estrogen blocker. And then, because I've seen a lot of these guys come to us on TRT and their estradiol is like in the single digits.
Wow.
And that's not good. In fact, I don't know the name of the study, but I saw a study recently where they took a large cohort of men and they found that these guys on average that their estradiol is like less than 12, that they had on average a 312% increased risk of dying of any cause.
That's crazy.
Yeah, that's how important estradiol is, which indirectly is made from testosterone.
So it's more of a balance than like just looking at either one in a vacuum.
You gotta look at the whole thing, the big picture. It's all about understanding how each thing influences everything else. The liver is so important. Insulin is super important. The more optimal your testosterone is, the more insulin sensitive you can become. It helps with insulin resistance. And we could talk about insulin resistance because most patients that I do labs with have significant insulin resistance, and they could be even fit, like looking individuals. But there's, the statistic is like 88% of Americans are insulin resistant.
That's crazy.
And that will start to affect all these other hormones, testosterone, vitamin D, you name it.
One of the things that surprised me about my labs was my vitamin D levels, because I felt like I was getting enough sunlight. I was going, it was winter, but I was still going out and getting enough sunlight. And it sounds like you had a similar experience where your vitamin D was lower than expected. Is that something you're seeing a lot of, like low vitamin D levels?
Yeah. So many times guys are like, man, that can't be right. I golf every day. I'm out, outside playing softball or whatever. And I'm like, you're not like out, tighty whities playing ball, right? Because I mean, you got to get a lot of sun exposure to get adequate vitamin D. And another thing too about vitamin D is there's a genetic component. I mean, there's 3 different genes that significantly impact your body's ability to synthesize vitamin D from the sun, to transport it to the cell, and then to absorb it into the cell. So there's 3 different, and not everybody has all 3 of those genes like, rocking. And so a lot of us, if you're not getting enough sun exposure frequently enough, supplementation is key, and it can make a huge difference. And even supplementation oftentimes should be done more than once a day to keep it optimal.
What are Jacey's non-negotiables for feeling like the best version of yourself?
Good sleep, work out, do something active every day, stay hydrated, prayer, and I try to enjoy, be happy and enjoy life.
Yeah. How old are you?
48.
Is the way that you train in your late 40s different than your 20s and 30s?
Yeah. So yes. Yeah. I have this philosophy now where when I'm at the gym, I want the intensity to be absolutely as high as possible, but the duration short as possible.
Yeah.
So, and I love working out with people with me because I don't, I'm pretty intense. And so like if I've worked out with, certain guys and they try to get them to do with what I'm doing. And they're like, dude, that was the hardest work I've ever done. Because I just like, don't stop. But then I can't do, like, if I'm going to jump in somebody's CrossFit workout routine, I'm smoked.
Yeah.
I can't, I don't train like that because I feel like guys in their 40s, like my age, it's like the CrossFit thing, those workouts are so long, to me, it's just, I like to get, HIIT training. I love, lift heavy stuff as much as possible in a short amount of time. Because what you're really doing when you're exercising at this level is you're tricking your body. You're telling your body, no, dude, you're young. And this is the same stuff I teach my dad, who's 74, and he still lifts heavy and works out hard. And
he's a beast. I saw a video of him.
Yeah.
Do you work out in the mornings or afternoons? Like, is there, cause
it's, I do a little weird routine in the morning just to kind of wake myself up,
Yeah.
I used to work out in the mornings religiously where I used to there's a gym right by my house, but now because I kind of get up and I try to prioritize my kids and make breakfast and things like that, I tend to work out later now, like sometimes like 5:30, 6 at night.
Yeah.
We're so pissed that your flight got delayed because you would have kicked our ass today. It would have been incredible.
I was super pumped.
What kind of workout would you taken us through? What do you think we would have done?
Yeah, so I like to do a lot of like superset type with heavy weights and maybe some drop sets and things like that. Just I've developed a lot of like muscle endurance with heavy weight over the years, and so I like to kind of just like you pick whatever body part, we'll just destroy it. And
that's
like
my favorite way to work out.
Short period of time, you're in and out.
Yeah,
efficient.
Yeah. Well, it's funny. We see a lot of people who spend so much time at the gym, but their actual time doing stuff is actually pretty short, and they give themselves so much rest that their muscles are never really truly strained. So,
correct.
Like, I've just taken a new philosophy in the gym where it's like legit just as much time with the weight in my hand as possible. And that ends up usually just being about like a 20 to 30 minute workout where it was just super high intensity. And
yes,
that's how, like, I've gotten better results doing that than spending an hour and a half in the gym thinking I'm doing a lot of work, but really just kind of like, spending time in between sets or not really like upping the intensity.
Yeah. I love like the gym I work out now, they have like a sled you can push.
Yeah.
And so I'll have that like set up, because especially when the times it's not that busy when I'm there, when I'm busy there, I can't, like on the weekends, and I'll go do a couple like sets. I'll go in between sets. I'll push that just to get the heart rate up, and I'll go back and do a set. And I don't like to like stop moving that much versus like the sit on the bench for a while.
Yeah.
I really try to kind of keep moving, just keep challenging the body. I really love the push pull workouts that I'll throw in every once in a while. That's a crazy thing, dude.
So good.
It almost feels like when you work your lats and you're doing a pull, like it makes the push easier.
Definitely.
Yeah, there are a lot of people in Austin, because obviously fitness is a huge part of the culture here, but the gym that we go to, people just hang around the gym for like 2+ hours. And I'm like, I don't know what you're doing every day, but we don't have 2 hours to just like shoot the shit at the gym. And one time we were recording a podcast and we were like, all right, we have like 35 minutes. And we just went in there, smoked ourselves, didn't talk, just like constant reps, sets, et cetera. And then just got out of there. And our buddy was like, it's like, oh, you guys are leaving already? I'm like, yeah, dude, we didn't fucking take any breaks. We just actually trained and got the fuck out of there. That's all we did.
Yeah, I mean, my dad, God bless him. The gym is a social environment for him. Everyone knows Jerry at the gym, and I just say, hey, I'm Jerry's son. Like, oh, yeah. But he likes to talk to people. He likes to, I just don't have the time. I get in, it's all business, man.
Yeah,
I get in and get out, and yep. I'm the same way.
It's a balance. It's fun to have,
sometimes,
the gym crew.
Yeah. Well, your dad's a good testimony too, because you were saying your dad has sent so many people to Blokes.
So many.
He can't really speak to the science, but people are like, well, he's got the proof of work because he's 70, was it 72 or 74?
74.
And he's in incredible shape. So they're like, whatever Jerry's doing is working. And then he just sends them right to you and you can break down the science, get their blood work done, all that.
Dude, on a weekly basis, people are texting me, hey, I just talked to your dad. Hey, my wife, told me I should come. I should call you. I mean, he'll talk to anyone, and he's like, my dad's funny. He's like 74. He's like, I can get away with talking to the young hot chick. You know what I mean? And he can't.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, he sends us more people just because he's like a walking poster boy. He does he always says. When I raise my kids, and then there's a certain point where they start raising me. He wants to stay jacked. He wants to stay strong. He wants to. Just keep feeling good. And like he recently, I sat down with him because it was his birthday was this month, it was Father's Day this month, and it's men's health awareness month, June. And so I sat down with him and had like a little kind of almost like a little podcast like this. And
nice.
I was asking him like, hey dad, what do you think, health is? And I was like throwing all the things out, and he's like, just doing what you want to do, man. Yeah. I'm like, yeah, you're right.
You're right.
But really, what do you say? You had to train to do what you want to do, right? It's definitely. Just he keeps his body in a state where he continues to do what he wants to do. I built I don't recommend this to anyone. But I put a pool in my backyard. I literally dug a pool. Yeah, it was like Dumb and what was that show? What's his name? Jim Carrey. What's that movie called again?
Is it Dumb and Dumber?
No. I dug the pool. Oh. Dick and Jane. Remember that? That was me, bro. Like 100%. Digging a pool, it's raining. Anyways. But my dad was the only, not the only one, but he was the one there every day helping me.
Dang.
72 years old at the time, digging with me. I'm like, you can stay home. Nah, nothing else to do. But no other 70-something-year-old guy would be out there putting that kind of back-breaking work in. But man, God bless him, man. He's a machine.
What are some of the traits that you see in your dad that you want to continue to work towards as you get older?
Yeah, I mean, I really have a lot of appreciation for just you can always depend on my dad, and he's always taught us families first. So I want my kids to understand. Family is everything, and yeah, also just like you said, man, if there's things you want to do in life, train for life. Don't just kind of let life go by. Yeah, he's a hard worker, and he's a very honest person. So I feel like he's a guy, but his testosterone's where it should be. So he's still
Jerry's a stud.
Yeah. Where it should be.
What sort of things have you done with him to keep him in that vibrant, vital state, later into his 70s? That's incredibly impressive.
Yeah. My brother and I, we continue to encourage him because he's done powerlifting shows. We compliment him on how strong he is. So keep him so he wants to keep doing it. Because that's lifting, not just for older guys, but women too. Resistance training is so important. Maintaining muscle is so important. So I want him to keep chasing something. He's like me. I like to, so my brother, my dad, and I we're looking for a powerlifting meet to kind of all three of us do together. And I feel like that's, as long as he has something to train, and I feel he can break another world record for his age and weight class. But yeah, I mean, I have him on TRT. He's on testosterone replacement, so his levels are where they should be. I have him get blood tested. So I'm looking if he needs any other nutrients, and we have him covered. So he's doing all the things that we do for all of our patients. And but I will tell you, before we got him on the TRT, he felt like he wasn't. I mean, he's man, Jay, COVID. He's like, man, I really had to really force myself to go work out and all that kind of stuff. I feel like I'm just not getting strong anymore. And his levels were pretty low. And so we got him on the testosterone, and that kind of brought him back to where he was. So it's just all those things.
Yeah.
And you're no longer on TRT because that supplement you mentioned,
Correct.
right? Is it a supplement?
It's technically a medication. Yeah, technically medication.
Would you ever go back on TRT?
If this stops working, yeah.
But right now you just feel really good. So you're like, there's no need for me to go back on it.
I feel no need. I mean, here's the thing is there are outliers. There are some guys that they're 85 years old or whatever, and they're still able to make adequate testosterone. They're very, not many, but often most guys get to a point in their life where their testicles just stops making testosterone, or just can't make enough. And so, but because that's what this is doing. And clomiphene is stimulating something called luteinizing hormone that goes down to the testes to stimulate your production of that. And as long as my family jewels keep making the testosterone, I'll ride it, man, as long as I can. There's something, I don't know why I felt like cheating when I was giving myself a shot. I don't know. I mean, there's nothing wrong with it. There's nothing wrong with TRT, but just for me, it's like my whole life, I've always prided myself of being natural and being strong and that whole thing. And, like my brother's never done any of this stuff and he's still a freak. I mean, if you saw him, you'd be like, dang, he's jacked. But yeah, I mean, I felt just like I was like a shell of myself and I had to do something. And that did make me feel pretty good for a while, but I wasn't like as consistent with it. This, I feel like I did before.
In terms of the supplement industry, I'm sure you've seen a lot of different companies pop up and there's good ones, there's bad ones. I'm just curious to get your take on the industry in general and like what people should know when they start thinking about supplementation, because it seems like it's probably something that people should really seriously consider when it comes to just getting all the minerals that they need. But there are a lot of garbage companies out there who are probably not doing the right things in terms of just high quality products.
Yeah, supplements that's a tough one because I mean, as you know, it's not as regulated as like obviously like medications are. Supplements can and do functions like medications, and but there's I've heard of stories where individuals have had certain supplements tested, and what was in the bottle, what was said to be in the bottle, was not. So there's it's like the Wild West, you know what I mean? And so I really am particular and really picky when it comes to supplements. So I research certain companies and I really dig deep in like where their sources of ingredients are, and so we really have like researched that heavily, and we know like there are products. So when you come to us, the products that we're going to recommend are the ones we vouch for. We know are high quality, but we're also not going to recommend supplements to people unless we know this is something that their body most likely needs, and that's why we like to do test, not guess, and have that kind of approach. But there's you just really want to do a little more research and homework when it comes to supplements, which I have done. My background's functional medicine, so that I've worked with companies. I found companies that are super, super reputable and of the the highest quality products that I personally take. That I would give my kids, I would give my family, my patients, and so. But yeah, I mean, some of these stores that just have like everything, you name. There's a lot of fish oil products out there that are like horrible. Like just to give you an idea, like if you take a fish oil product and you get like the fish burps, throw it away, man.
Really?
Yeah. It's oftentimes it's from farmed fish. It's rancid. It's not good. So there are supplements out there that are high quality, but then most of them, it seems like, are just really not.
What's your take on Shilajit and Tangadali, like some of these newer or like becoming more popular types of supplements that seem to have some benefit for hormone health?
I mean, I definitely think there's merit to those, and they seem to really be effective for some guys. It's not everyone. It seems to have. I've seen patients where I'm taking Tangadali and I'm taking Phaedogia agrestis, I'm taking boron, and their testosterone levels went from like suboptimal to like boom, like where they want it, and then some guys like, I'm taking this, I don't really feel anything. It's just kind of depends on the individual, what's going on. But there, I think with that, it could also be the quality, what they're getting, you know. But it definitely seems like there's merit to some of those products, and they are moving the needle on some of these guys more than I even thought I would see.
What is your perspective on creatine? If you eat a lot of really good quality animal protein, do you think it's still beneficial to supplement with it? I know people say 5 to 10 grams, but just
so I personally do, you know, eat a lot of meat, obviously, but I love creatine. I take creatine more for the mental side of it. It has a lot of benefits cognitively, and there's a ton of research on creatine. I've been taking it for on and off for years. Been more aggressive with it probably the last, I don't know, probably 3 years. My brother, he's probably has not stopped taking creatine for like 25 years. The guy's literally every day he's like creatine, you know, in his coffee. I don't know. He just takes it all the time.
Yeah.
And he just, you know, he's like best thing ever. But yeah, I'm a big fan of creatine.
I know the brand Thorne passes your test. You like Thorne. Yep. Any other brands that people should know about that has your seal of approval?
Yeah. I mean, I think creatine monohydrate is the best there is. And if it just a product that has 100% creatine monohydrate, and you know, just that's it. Don't go with products that have fillers or the sugars or the dyes or any of that kind of stuff. Just creatine monohydrate. And there's, you know, that's one of those supplements where it seems like it's a lot of the companies get it from like the same, you know, manufacturers or produce. I guess that would be manufacturers, but sources. But it's pretty hard to mess up. But if it's creatine monohydrate, that's what you want.
Are there any emerging health trends that you see and feel pretty confident that they're going to be here for a while and that like you're actually really excited about? I know obviously TRT is one, but anything else that you're seeing that's exciting? So
peptide therapy is something I think you know, I don't even know if many people know about this or what that is. I always feel like I wish that is direction medicine would be going, but there's just not a lot of, I guess, profit in it. But peptides are amazing, and I mean, way to simplify it is, you know, you take a medication, right? Medications oftentimes are inhibiting something that the body naturally normally does. So if you're taking like a proton pump inhibitor, it's inhibiting your stomach acid production, and you know, there's, you know, different things for inflammation and, you know, pain. People are taking things that to mask symptoms. Peptides are basically signaling compounds. It's like you know what a protein is, right? It's a chain of amino acids. Well, these peptides are a little shorter chains of amino acids, and you take them in your body, inject them, or take them orally, and it's basically triggering and signaling your body to do basically more of what it already knows how to do or knew what to do, and it just helps your body function better. So doesn't that make more sense?
Totally.
And that, I feel like that is where I wish would get momentum, because it does amazing things for the immune system, for healing, for tissue repair, for cognition, for all these things. I mean, you can make a peptide do kind of whatever you want, really.
Why do people call BPC 157 the Wolverine peptide? So I'm about to drive out to Bastrop to get the BPC that got sent out there.
So sorry,
it's a bash. The BPC got sent to Bastrop.
No way.
Yeah, we'll get it sent.
Wrong address, but yeah. So you know the comic book character Wolverine, you know, Hugh Jackman. He just like heals, right? He gets ripped apart and he heals right back up. So it won't heal you like that, but they call it the Wolverine peptide because BPC stands for body protective compound. It's derived from your gastric secretions, gastric juices, so it has a ton of benefits in the digestive system. But you can also use it to heal musculoskeletal injuries, tissue damage, that kind of thing. It's been around for a lot longer than people realize. And athletes that have had muscle tears or strains, they would like inject it into that location, and it would like significantly help them heal much quicker. Hence Wolverine peptide. So it's a healing compound. It has a ton of benefits. My wife has ulcerative colitis. She'll take it, and you know, it seems like she's really sensitive to gluten too. In fact, just the other day, we were at Trader Joe's, and my daughter's like, you know, she's 7. She saw that they were giving out samples of some kind of like chocolatey, pretzel-y treat, and so she's like, "Hey, Mom, I went and got you a sample," and she's like, "Oh, does it have gluten?" She's like, "Nope." She listened to a 7-year-old. So we were getting, and so I had, of course, I popped a couple, those are good. We're in the car, all of a sudden I looked at her, she's like, I don't oh, I feel funny. And I look at her and I can tell like her
Mhm.
eyes get kind of, and then she started getting the distension like within like
Wow.
20 minutes. It was
Just
crazy.
from one treat.
From one little treat. And then so I got home, I gave her some BPC, had her take some enzymes and stuff. And she laid down for a little bit, but she was fine after like a couple hours. Normally that would last like the whole day, the whole night, and until next day. The BPC, man.
That's amazing. So that for people that have gut issues, it's like, it's not
Yep.
just carnivore. There's other things that you can be taking to mitigate some of those symptoms
Absolutely.
too. Have you done a food sensitivity test with her?
Yeah, we've done several. I mean, she avoids all the food that she was sensitive to. And the food sensitivity test is interesting because you could have sensitivities to foods today. And just so you guys know, there's a difference between a food sensitivity, a food intolerance, or a food allergy. There are differences. Food sensitivity is more like you eat a food and it elicits like an IgG reaction in your body, and you may not experience a symptom immediately. It could take a day. It could take 2 days. It could be something that Brett eats today, and then come Saturday, you're like, what the heck? Why do I have achy joints and brain fog and that kind of stuff? So that's kind of more of a food sensitivity. So you do a food sensitivity test. Let's say you're reacting to like 10 different foods, 15 different foods. You're like, well, I want to cut these out for now. But really, if there's that many food sensitivities, oftentimes it's more like, I call it the terrain. Like we got to work on healing the gut, because it's the state of the gut. It's there's some permeability, there's some reactivity. We want to calm down. We want to heal the gut. And a lot of these people, if their food sensitivity is mild enough, they can regain their tolerance to those foods by restoring gut health. And it can take some time, but also it's oftentimes the foods that you eat more often that you're sensitive to. So people like stop eating those foods. Well, then they do the test again. Now they're sensitive to other foods, because it's back to the state of the gut, and really focusing on healing the gut. And so that's when I had my practice, I focused so much on gut health. And food sensitivity tests are good, but really it's like we got to really, really, because everybody's going to eat. There are common foods that people react to. I talked about before, gluten, because it's so hybridized and the molecule is so different than it was and is in even other countries. And a lot of foods are different than what they were, hundreds of years ago, like how they've modified it and made it, how you want. You want. I mean, fruit tastes much sweeter than it used to. Vegetables taste much less bitter than it used to. But yeah, people are reacting to foods. And if they have a lot of food sensitivities, if they have like a lot of gut issues, we add BPC in the mix. That can do a lot of wonderful things. All of a sudden, their digestive issues like improve. They're not reacting to foods. And a lot of people say, like, what, my poop looks healthier too. So it just does a lot of wonderful things for gut health, both upstream. When I say upstream, like more like stomach, and downstream.
Yeah. It's one of the reasons why we recommend an elimination diet in the form of a carnivore diet, because when you do kind of eliminate some of these foods and focus on nutrient density, you can see where your sensitivities lie without necessarily having to go get a test. But the test is important. Have you done the carnivore diet or like animal-based diet?
Yeah. Pretty much. I mean, I pretty much, I don't even know, carnivore. I'm not like just meat and water.
Yeah.
But I do have like, some carbs in there, but it's more strategic around workouts. But I pretty much prioritize protein like crazy. Ask anyone. I mean, a lot of my wife's like, what do you want with that steak? Nothing. That's all I want is a steak, and that's the thing, is like when I have just like a good steak, I feel satisfied. I feel full, and and I'm good and I feel good. But to your point, I'll tell you this much. I've tested hundreds of people with food sensitivity tests over the years, and most people do not test towards meat. There's like really not much sensitivities in these protein, but it's people react all the time to vegetables, to nuts, to dairy, to grains.
And
That's interesting.
And you talk to so many people, they're like, oh, I don't eat red meat because it doesn't upset my stomach. It's like, is it the red meat, or is it the French fries, the milkshake you had with it?
Most people are not eating meat, they're not just eating protein by itself. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And like you said, that combination. But the thing is, it might, once again, it might not be the meat. It's like, is their stomach making enough stomach acid? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like for protein, if somebody, it has followed the standard American diet, the SAD diet, which is simply atrocious diet. If they've been following that for a long enough time, right? Their digestive system takes a beating. And so they're probably not releasing enough digestive enzymes, enough hydrochloric acid. You have to have adequate hydrochloric acid to break down that protein to into amino acids, to utilize those things. And a person can have like a perfectly well cooked steak, but they're lacking the enzymes, the acid to break that down to and that could be why it's not the food, it's their state. What
do you think guys should know about female hormone health? Because it affects our relationships, right? Like we should have some knowledge of how they're feeling or like what they're going through. I think it's something that isn't really talked about. It's kind of taboo, but
I love that question, man. Man, that's such a good question. And I think that needs to be something that guys should ask their wife, their girlfriend about, like, because they're all female are different. So I have daughters. So like I want my daughters to feel comfortable talking about their period, their hormones and that kind of thing. So, I mean, just to give you an idea. So when a woman has a period, think of it like, just to simplify it, there's like two halves of the menstrual cycle. They have the period and then they ovulate and then they 2 weeks go by and they have a period again. So basically in the first 2 weeks, they're more estrogen kind of dominant in that side of it. So in the estrogen dominant side is, when it comes to like fasting and dieting, and that's when women can get away with more things. They can fast, they can probably be be more respond well to like more of carnivore style dieting. However, in the second half after ovulation, when it's more progesterone dominant, that's when the PMS symptoms and things like that. And I feel bad for women because if they're having these hormone imbalances, dude, like we talked about, hormones make us, imagine if our hormones were all out of whack, like all of a sudden, like our testosterone crashes and we're like, I feel, I have all daughters. So it's a real thing, man. But after that second half of their menstrual cycle is when they're probably need more carbs and, to help with those things. So the estrogen dominant side of it, it's like, it's more forgiving. They work out hard. You can probably, have more. They probably feel a little bit more libido. Second half, there's a shift that happens. So it's kind of understanding. But every woman's different. But all the more, it's like get their labs tested. Because there's so much driving metabolic things that influence women's hormones now more than ever. Same thing is that affects us, and that has to do with like the insulin resistance completely jacks up their hormones, completely messes up. The more insulin resistant a woman gets, that's what can cause the PCOS, polycystic ovarian syndrome, and even more estrogen dominant in the part where they should have more progesterone. So it throws all these things off. I have a daughter that's dealing with this right now, so I'm trying to help her, balance her hormones. So it's like, there's nothing wrong with your dad, learning these things, or your boy, or your husband or your boyfriend. How much would they appreciate if guys like took it upon ourselves to learn a little bit more about, and you can Google it.
Yeah.
And you can say, hey, I've read something about, you should have more meat the first time. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And do those things, But here's the thing with the insulin resistant piece, it's like that's where we can team up and be like, hey, let's get away from the standard crappy diet with all the processed foods, because it jacks up their hormones, women's hormones big time. I see it with my daughters, and it's a real thing. PCOS is probably the most common cause of infertility in women, and it is driven by insulin resistance.
And it's important for men to know this stuff too, because you shouldn't be treating your lady in the front half of the cycle the same way as you would the back half of the cycle. It's like we need to know this stuff.
We need to. It's significant in female athletics too. I mean, there's when the hormones are shifting like that, you'll see women get more injured when they have that before the period because there's more ligament laxity and there's, more susceptible to injuries and things. There's a lot of different like nuances to it. But, the problem too is like a lot of these girls, they have like these PMS symptoms and they go to the doctor and guess what their doctor, and we think, oh, your doctor knows. What do? They put them on birth control pills and thinking like that's going to normalize it. And you don't know for sure how their body is going to metabolize estrogen. It has to do with genetics and it has to do with lifestyle, but their body may metabolize estrogen into a more inflammatory form, which makes them even feel more miserable and gain weight and all that kind of stuff. It's all hormone driven. So all the more that we have to like we talked about at the event, we have to not just like keep blaming the system and take responsibility, man. I think that's what it boils down to is we've all talked about like the system's broken. We've all talked about that, societies, whatever's going on, testosterone levels are dropping. There's hormone imbalances happening. There's the standard American diet is horrific. And we can blame agriculture. We can blame government. We can blame the insurance companies. But dude, let's just freaking take responsibility and start doing something about it. You know what I mean? Instead of just like keep pointing fingers. It drives me crazy.
Yeah. Okay, cool. The system's broken, but what are you going to do about it? Because there's still a ton of things in your control that you can be doing.
We can all blame, oh, it costs too much. Oh, dude, I can take a person's grocery list, their receipt and say, you shouldn't have bought this. Let's replace it with this. And guess what? Spend the same amount of money, but you have like healthy, better quality foods.
Yeah. Why do people struggle with that so much? I feel like
I know, man. Well, you know what it is? Here's what it is. Once again, simply atrocious diet. These people are eating carbs and it's not their fault, but the carbs are very addictive and it signals hunger, which is the most powerful, driving thing there is. When you're hungry, you can't and you won't stop eating. But guess what? If you go to the grocery store and load up on steaks and beef and you eat that, you're good. You won't, but you won't know till you do it.
Yeah. $1 of beef goes so much farther than $1 of any of the crap
man.
in the in or out of the grocery store.
Yeah.
Not to change gears too much, but one of the things you mentioned in your ideal routine, you mentioned prayer. And I'm just curious, how big of a role has faith played in your life?
Huge. Yeah. So definitely wouldn't be here today if it wasn't for God. I mean, 2017. So I was at a place in my life where I, physically was nothing. I mean, I had a horrific neck injury. It's just like, I think years of just stress and toiling just took a toll on me. And I blew out 3 discs in my neck. I had atrophy of my whole right side, my arm, shoulder. I couldn't do one push-up. Couldn't do not one dip, nothing, and I mean, there's a lot of things before this, but this is like, I remember just praying to God, like, look, man, I know I'm probably never going to be like physically what I was, God, but like, please just like, let me regain, because my identity in myself is like, I want to be like, I want to be like a man to my daughters and be, and I want to be an example of like who I want them to marry, or the type of man I want them to marry, someone that's like, a leader and, not just strong, mentally, emotionally, but physically. I like my dad, I want to exude what it is to be a man. And so I feel God healed me, man. Like I prayed about it every day. I didn't realize the human body could create that much pain. There's nothing like nerve pain, dude. That's going down your arm. Oops, sorry. Down your arm into your hand. You can't use it. So yeah, slowly but surely, I started to feel less and less pain and keep going to the gym and not take these things for granted. And like, once you go through that, you're like, man, God challenged me, put me in a place where I was like, ready to give up, man. I was just like, at the time, part of that injury and what I went through, I couldn't work. I couldn't really focus. I ended up selling my practice and just kind of starting over and went a different direction. But I think those things did happen for a reason. And I'm here today because of all those trials and all that struggle, because it made me even stronger. And I really, think that God had a plan all along. And so I'm so grateful.
That power of belief is something that, it's world changing. And we were talking about this the other day. Like it seems like there's a bit of a void in society where people don't necessarily believe in anything, and that void gets filled by something else. And whether
Yeah.
they know it or not, they're prescribing to something. And both of us have had our own walk with God and feel the same thing, where it's once you identify with that, the framework of a faith-based life, you start to see belief really showing up for you. Like you had to believe that you could heal yourself before you did it. And I think that that's just such a powerful anecdote.
Man, that's so good. I mean, I really, and sometimes I feel like, because my wife's a hospice nurse, and so she sees people, unfortunately, and my sister's a hospice nurse. They see patients like at the end, dying and all that stuff, and it's real. But it's like there's just not many miracles that they see. It's just like but the problem is doctors are kind of basically, unfortunately, expecting patients to just decline when they get this diagnosis. Oh, your chance of survival is like 1%, and you tell patients this. I mean, how do you expect them to believe? There's so it's like we kind of like tend to kind of like create that more, like you said, if the doctor that you're delegating your health to doesn't believe, then how, it's hard for you. So it's like, you're right. I think people should try to start believing, because the truth is like the human body is so smart, and it is always adapting to what we do to it, and how we think, and what we believe.
Mhm.
So by like literally, I mean, it sounds weird, but I literally envisioned my nerve cells healing. Like I imagined it happen. Imagine like power, like Holy Spirit going through my body and like healing it and rebuilding it. And I just feel like that's what happened. I mean, I'm not like, it's not like 100, but it's 100%. It's not 100% strong as like it was before. But I mean,
you can do push-ups.
Can do push-ups. Can function. Can play with my kids. Can throw football. Can do all these fun things. So
Yeah.
I mean, I couldn't even sleep. Like I couldn't go through a night without waking up probably 20 times. I couldn't, couldn't look up at the ceiling. Yeah. Couldn't watch fireworks.
You have your whole life back now.
Yeah.
It's amazing when you actually pray and ask for what you want with the right intention. A lot of times he delivers on what you're asking for too.
Yep.
A lot of us we don't ask. So you
We
don't
don't
get.
ask. Yeah. I mean, I wasn't, I just wanted, hey man, this pain sucks. If you can just, bring it down a couple notches.
Yeah.
I will be so grateful. I'll do whatever. And yeah, so I feel like now this is what, like, I was put on this earth to help educate people about health, real health. And that's what I'm hoping to constantly do. And that's what I love doing is helping people just gain that awareness and empower them to take ownership with their health.
How has your expansion of your faith helped you change your relationship with like taking a risk, like starting a business? Because I know from my own experience, when I was working in a corporate job, I was pretty fearful of just taking a risk. And it's like, when you reframe your life through faith and belief, you actually just like create the order in your life that you need to have in order to take a risk and do something that's perceived as hard. But, the backdrop of that is ultimately just belief.
Yeah, so good, man. I think that people tend to mistake fear for like, oh, I shouldn't do this. But man, I think the more that fear's knocking, the more that is like you're trying to. That's you trying to not do what God's asking you to do. You know what I mean? So it's like go lean into that and pursue that, because what I've learned is anything that I've tried, that I've pursued in the beginning, it's not going to ever. Nobody's going to like just win the lottery first day. You just got to keep going and keep going and keep going and keep going. And I embrace the struggle, man.
You love the struggle.
I love it, man.
It's where all the growth is.
Yeah, it really is. I mean, after going through what I went through, nothing in life is like it is hard to me anymore. Really, It isn't. And another thing too is like I really, I enjoy weird things. I just like I built that pool in my backyard. I like to just listen and see my kids play in the pool. That to me, that's like I'm the happiest guy on the planet. And I envision myself working at home so I can watch my kids play, and that's what I get to do now.
Some steak,
awesome.
a couple daughters, simple things, right?
Yeah, it's really the simple things, man. It's all I need.
What's the best way for people to connect with you if they want to learn more about you and they really love everything you're saying?
Yeah, so we, I'm one of the co-founders of the company. There's technically, it's one company, but we have two sides, the women's side inside Blokes, .co, get Blokes on Instagram. Then the joy is choosejoy.co or joy women's wellness on Instagram, or you can find me Dr. Jacey DRJACEY at Instagram.
All right, before we get you out of here,
yeah,
I need to hear one of your impressions because
when
I saw it, I was like, this might be the best thing on the internet.
Jack Nicholson was good.
Is that you like Jack? All right. Well, tonight we're gonna have to get ourselves a steak, maybe a ribeye or maybe a tomahawk. You guys can pick, and I'm gonna go with it.
Oh my god,
you missed your calling, dude. Impressions.
Dude, hey,
it could come into your life.
That's honestly so. I don't practice these. I just kind of like just on a whim, just kind of. But I've always loved doing impressions my whole life. So I think it's just something I do as a hobby. And I just probably might just keep doing them because I feel like to me it's like it's a hobby, it's an outlet, mostly like left brain, like analytical thinking, mental stuff, but like the right brain creative side of me, is something I think we all should tap into because I feel like having that creative outlet is so healthy. Doesn't always have to be like science and medical and facts. It's just having some fun and just kind of exploring some other sides of our personality.
Yeah. Your daughters have to love that.
Dude, the sad thing is I'll do impressions. They don't even know who I'm doing half the time.
Yeah, they're too young.
It's more like 90% of the time. They're like, you sound weird.
Yeah.
Who are you doing, Dad? I'm like, never mind.
You did like 10 in that video and nailed them all.
Thanks, man. Yeah, it's just fun. I don't think I'm like the best, but it's just fun.
You got the range though.
Yeah.
You can do a lot of different impressions.
Yeah, there's more to come.
Well, we're looking forward to it, man.
Yeah.
Well, dude, listen, we really appreciate you making the trip into Austin. I know there was some resistance getting here, but the conversation was so good.
It was worthwhile, man.
I mean, dude, you're a dude. We're grateful to be friends with you. We look up to you in a lot of different ways, and just looking forward to seeing everything you guys go to
I appreciate it. Likewise,
future.
man. You guys are kicking butt, man. It's just a couple of young dudes that keep doing what you're doing, man. I love the energy and I love the drive and the purpose behind what you're doing. So thanks for having me. I'm honored.
Appreciate you.
Awesome. Thanks, man.
Awesome.